Well, congratulations, Shreveport. You did it. 87 homicides for the year 2021. You just broke the record, the 1993 record of 86 homicides. And I'm quite sure that out of the 87 homicides, I'm sure that at least 80 of them were cases of black on black crime. Ridiculous, just plain ridiculous. I was driving downtown the other day. I was driving down Texas Avenue. It's the same street where Shreveport Police Headquarters is located and where a lot of old, dilapidated, abandoned buildings are. A lot of the older residents like to call it old downtown because that's where that used to be one of the main spots downtown before uh, Regents Tower and Capital One Bank Tower was built. But yeah, anyway, I'm driving down Texas Avenue and I look over to my left and I see this Black Lives Matter mural. Now, this mural has been up for almost 2 years now. It was put up last summer after the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor stuff went off. So I parked my car a few blocks over and I get out of my car and I walk over to this mural and I'm looking at all these names on painted on this wall here. And I got this idea earlier this year. Why not replace all those names you see on that wall with the names of the victims, the homicide victims of Shreveport this year? It only makes sense. Now, with the exception of the top three, the first three that's painted in red, uh, those people actually lived in Shreveport. I'm sure you're familiar with the first name right there, Tommy McLaughlin. He was, well, his case was a high profile case here in Shreveport. He's the guy that died under mysterious circumstances, and his case is ongoing right now. Also, while I was standing outside looking at that mural, I had a flashback of all the events that took place last year, specifically the one that happened in front of the courthouse when all those protesters gathered around to protest the removal of that Confederate statue. And then later, the Confederate bikers showed up to give their side of the story pretty much. They were saying that it's history and it's our history and it shouldn't be moved. Why do y'all have a problem with it now? And it made a lot of sense to me because just because the media told you to be outraged by this statue, y'all are out here in the heat acting a fool. Think about it. That statue has been sitting out in front of that courthouse for nearly 100 years. And all of a sudden, because of what the media told you, y'all are out there with protest signs, with your mask on, and it was crazy. It was hot as hell that day too. I remember it. This was the week before the 4th of July last year, and I was out there recording with my camera, and I just remember being in awe because I couldn't believe all these people were out here about to fight over a Confederate statue that's been out there all that time. But it just goes to show you how much of a bad influence the leftist media is. And if you go downtown right now, you will see that that statue is still sitting in front of the courthouse. All they did was they built a huge box around it and they said they would move it at a later date. But here we are over a year later, it's still sitting in front of the courthouse. And lots of people have just pretty much forgotten about it because the media is not talking about it anymore. And do you know why they're not talking about it anymore? Because the Democrats, the leftists, their mission is complete. Everything that happened last year was planned and fixed by the Democrats. The rigged election. See, now that they've gotten Trump out of office, you don't really hear anything from Black Lives Matter anymore. We haven't heard a peep out of Black Lives Matter all year, have we? Because their mission is complete. All that race baiting they did last year with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, the leader, whoever this woman is, y'all remember the story that came out earlier this year that this woman went out and bought a $4 million home in California. All that money that was generated last year from George Floyd's funeral. Y'all remember that man's funeral was shown on national TV. The mayor of Minneapolis was up there crying fake tears, kneeling at the casket of George Floyd. What kind of mess is that? That was a political soap opera. That's all that was. Okay, here's my problem with Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter to me is what PETA is for animals. PETA. PETA stands for People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. All right. And the purpose of this organization is to protect animals from, being slaughtered, uh, pushed to the point of extinction. These people don't like seeing animals being killed for food or uh, clothing trade, none of that stuff, right? And the reason why they're so strongly against human slaughtering animals is because everybody knows that humans are intellectually superior to animals. You see, in the animal kingdom, as long as animals are killing other animals, nobody has a problem with it. They're animals, that's what they do. Lions, bears, wolves, they kill for their food and they fight off their competition. They kill their competition for food. But as soon as poachers and hunters step in, that's when PETA or PETA, however you pronounce it, that's when they step in and say, hey, that's wrong. Save the wolves, save the bears, save the lions. We as humans have the power and intelligence to take out most species of animals. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Young black men across America shoot and kill each other every day, and it's acceptable until a white cop or a white civilian decides to join the fun. Then it becomes unacceptable. Why? After you watch this video, I want you to go check out this channel, Police Activity on YouTube. It features body cam footage from police officers across the country showing suspects of all races being stupid, being tased and killed by the police. CNN and MSNBC, they won't show you that. Now, having said all that, why should I support an organization who thinks I'm stupid? They think that I'm not smart enough to make the right decision when I'm confronted by the police. Now, if that's not a slap in the face, if that's not the utmost disrespect, I don't know what is. These people think that I'm not as smart as a dog, a cow, a horse, a monkey. Hell, according to Joe Biden, I don't know how to use a computer. I'm not smart enough to locate where the DMV is to get my ID. Yeah, Joe Biden's actually said this. Go look it up. And then to end it all, he actually said on the Breakfast Club, well, it wasn't the Breakfast Club, it was Charlemagne the God. He's one of the hosts on the Breakfast Club. But he actually said in the end that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Really, Joe? The fuck out of here. You see how they like to stereotype black people? These Democrat politicians and these liberals, they love to stereotype black people. They assume that all black people are Democrat, liberal, and that's far from the truth. Where the hell have they been living? Under a rock or something? Because over the last few years, the conservative movement amongst blacks, especially the younger blacks, the millennials, has been soaring. Have they not seen the Hodge twins? The Hodge twins have a huge conservative following, and they've been around for years. Not only them, there's other guys like Jesse Lee Peterson, Larry Elder, Anthony Bryan Logan. So why would you, as a black person, why would you support somebody? Why would you vote for somebody who thinks so little of you? They think they have you all figured out. You're just a walking, talking stereotype to them. And it reminded me of my video about the trip to the gun store. The one guy in the comments assumed that I watched too much CNN and I didn't know what I was talking about. No, I don't watch CNN. He couldn't accept the possibility that I was racially profiled. See, racial profiling and being racist are two different things. Racial profiling is something that we all do subconsciously. Now, some of you won't admit it, but we all do it. I didn't call the guy a racist. I just said that I think that I was racially profiled. And he got mad about that. He was triggered by that one line I made in that whole 10-minute video. But getting back to these Democrat politicians, every 4 years when election season comes around, it's the same thing. It started with Hillary Clinton when she said on the radio show when she said that she puts hot sauce on everything. And then Kamala Harris during the campaign when she came out and said that she grew up listening to Tupac. Just imagine going to a restaurant and Hillary Clinton is your waitress. You walk in and she says, "Hi, how are y'all tonight? So what would you be?" Oh, never mind. They'll have the fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread, and a glass of Kool-Aid. And these are the people that CNN encourages me to vote for every election. But you never hear this kind of nonsense coming from any Republican candidate, do you? You never do. Most Republican candidates, they're like, okay, I don't care who you are or what you are. You vote for who you vote for. They don't do all this ridiculous pandering. And this is how they get the majority black vote every election. We all know most black households are headed by whom? The women. All they have to do is put fear into black women by saying, well, if you vote Republican black women, you may lose your Section 8 housing vouchers. You may lose your food stamps. No more EBT cards. Do you want to risk losing that? Well, you better vote for us then, because we'll make sure that you don't lose your government assistance. And that's what creates a permanent underclass. These women, they sacrifice everything for government assistance. They sacrifice family. They sacrifice tradition. They sacrifice safety. The kids grow up to be criminals. These girls get pregnant at 15, 16, 17 years old. By the time they're 30, they got 5 or 6 kids. And here's the most important part. Everything that I just said over the last couple of minutes, you may be thinking, what's that got to do with me? Oh, it has a lot to do with you and me. This is where it gets dangerous. When these kids, these inner city kids who have no resources, when they get around 17, 18, 19 years old, and they start hitting the streets, they drop out of school and they start hitting the streets, that's when they become a problem to everybody. Anybody can get it. That's when you are likely to get robbed, shot by these people. And we've seen several examples this year. What about the 5-year-old girl who was shot on Monkhouse at the hotel? Maya Patel, the biggest tragedy of this year. In my opinion, what about the football player who played for Green Oaks, Minion Jackson? What about the young lady who was killed in Bossier City, Hannah Sheffield? See, these are several cases of innocent people killed by thugs. You are now in danger when these people are around. Now let's compare Shreveport's police to Bossier City's police. I worked at the boardwalk for 5 years over in Bossier City. In the 5 years that I've worked at the boardwalk, I've never seen a female officer patrolling that area. At the boardwalk, they have a little substation in the parking garage. And like I said, in the 5 years that I've worked there, I've never seen a female officer patrolling. I've never seen a female officer patrolling the streets of Bossier City. You go over to Shreveport and it's like 40% women. I've seen a lot of these female cops around the city. They're not serious about their damn job. In every major city where there's high crime, there's an abundance of female officers. Female officers weaken any police department. It's party time out here for these criminals. It's been party time. Now let's talk about black culture for a minute. Here's the number one problem. Well, I should say the number 2 problem, because the number 1 problem is our corrupt government. But the number 2 problem in America right now, in 2021 going into 2022, is black culture. American black culture today sucks. And it sucks because there's too much female influence in the black community. These young women who have all these kids, they've never been married, they're mental cases, they raise their kids to be crazy just like they are. We see proof of it every day we leave our house. And we always see them fighting all over the place. They fight everywhere. They fight at McDonald's, they fight at Walmart, they fight at Circle K, they fight at baby showers, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, the post office, the DMV, graduations, sporting events, Popeye's Chicken. And what's funny is that they never get arrested. They never get arrested. The police show up and they say, all right, girls, break it up, break it up. You know you can't do that here. Take it back to your neighborhood so you can be a bad influence on your kids. Let me tell y'all something. I was 11 years old when Tupac died. And when he died, I didn't know who the hell he was. I never heard of Tupac until after he died. I was 11 years old in the sixth grade, and I remember the day after he died, all my friends gathered around and started talking about his death. And I didn't want to be embarrassed, so I didn't say anything. I didn't say who's Tupac. I didn't want them to know that I didn't know who Tupac was. But think about this: an 11-year-old should not know who Tupac is. Going by his music and what he stood for, there's no reason that an 11-year-old should know who this guy was. But for the longest in black culture, kids are oftentimes, they're always exposed to inappropriate stuff at too young of an age. And look at the celebrities we have today. We have Cardi B, we have Meg the Stallion, Doja Cat. Cardi B and Meg the Stallion, those are some of the nastiest female rappers I've ever heard. Now, you thought Little Kim was nasty back in the day. Nuh-uh. I thought Nicki Minaj was nasty, but this Cardi B chick, she's an industry plant. She has absolutely no talent. She can't rap, she can't sing. That's Hollywood. Corrupt Hollywood put Cardi B in the industry to dumb down these girls, to dumb them down dumber than they were before. Okay? You've never seen Katy Perry or Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez. They don't have to make nasty songs like that. They don't have to. They're still seen as idols and sex symbols, and they actually make decent music that everybody can listen to. Now, to go back to Shreveport, because I'm kind of getting off topic here, but going back to Shreveport, like I said, female influence in black culture has ruined everything. Let me give y'all another example. Black funerals. You go to a typical black funeral, and what do you see? You see a whole bunch of women and not that many men. 4 to 5 generations of women, from somebody's 5-year-old granddaughter to an 85-year-old great-grandmother. But there's hardly any men there. If there is a man there, any male family members there, is usually the dead one in the casket. The uncles aren't around, grandpa's long gone. There might be some 4 or 5-year-old little boys. Once they get around 18, 19, 20 years old, they're already locked up or dead. Don't y'all get tired of seeing that? I am. Heavenly Gates, Winfield Funeral Home. What's the other one? Precious Memories. I've been to one of these funerals and I don't understand the rituals, I guess you would call it. All this praise dancing with the white face. What is all that? We didn't have that back in the old days. That's that female influence that I talk about. It's ruined our culture. Putting crowns, king and queen crowns on caskets and stuff, while the women are in there going crazy, screaming, rolling all over the floors, crying. Oh, Lord, why'd you take them? We got to stop all that, man. We got to start calling these women out. This is getting ridiculous. No other culture is screwed up like black culture. Look at what's been going on at Grambling State University. Over the last couple of years, they've been having shootings down there on campus. Back in October when they had their homecoming, 2 shootings. I think 1 person died. And now they're talking about putting a fence that surrounds the campus of Grambling State University. Now think about this. What other university, a college, has to do this? Louisiana Tech? Nope. LSU? Nope. What they need is a new president down there. I don't know what his name is, but he looks like the KFC guy, Colonel Sanders. Get rid of him first. And they had a press conference the day after the shooting, and it looks like he was smiling during the press conference. Like, what are you smiling about? You just had somebody die on your campus because your security sucked. I know I'm long-winded here, but I'm going to end this video with this. This is recorded audio from a news conference by KSLA News 12. This was back when Southwood was having all the problems with the fights on campus. And they contacted a member from the school board. I forget the guy's name, but I'm about to play the audio here in a second. Sheriff Prater and this guy and this woman from the school board talked about the problems at Southwood at the time. And listen to how stern and bold Sheriff Prater was in this conversation. He just laid it out flat. Sheriff Prater told the truth about the problems starting in the home. And notice how quiet and just how this other guy didn't want to acknowledge that Sheriff Prater was right. Mayor Perkins hasn't done enough. Bishop Larry Brandon with Praise Temple. What they are not doing, why hasn't Bishop Larry Brandon called a citywide single mom conference? Gather all these single moms up that's raising these kids to be failures gather all of them up around the city and talk to them. All they did was have a citywide prayer. And if y'all notice, this citywide prayer was held back in the summer. The murders went up ever since that happened. It's not working. What we're dealing with right now is mental deterioration. A lot of these kids, they're incoherent, they're inarticulate, they can't even speak right. You talk to them, they could be 14, 15 years old, and when you talk to them, they sound like they're 8. That's scary.
I would like to give Mr. Murray, Sheriff Prater, an opportunity to speak. If they have something they'd like to add, and then we'll just take questions from our media partners. And we can start with the sheriff.
Well, thank you, Dr. Gordy, and we enjoy a good working relationship with the Caddo Parish School Board and all of the personnel involved with that. I agree with you that we need to, and it's our obligation to provide a safe and secure place for the students to come to learn something, and the 99% that want to, we want to provide that environment for them. And we do have a responsibility. The parents also have a responsibility. The parents of these 1%. I know there's sometimes that kids and young people will do things that are not appropriate and parents wouldn't approve of, but there's many times that what we're seeing is these gangsters and these thugs are coming to school and they've had no discipline. They've got no parent that's taking up and tracking what they're doing and watching what they're doing, and that's where we're missing the boat. So the parents have a responsibility to send us young people to the school that are used to discipline, that have some sort of desire to learn something, and they're not just going because they have to go, or just going because they have a chance to come up there and stir up some strife for everybody else. So that's where, I understand there's two different philosophies a little bit, but I want these parents of these young people to really get involved in what they're doing on the social media, what they're doing after school. If they're gone at 2:00 in the morning, somebody ought to be calling the police, calling the DA's office, calling the juvenile authorities, and getting involved in your kids' lives.
Is not appropriate. There will be no place for you in our contemporary in our high schools, or our schools, period.
And Dr. Gorey, before we let everybody go, I think it needs once again to be clarified and said that these young people are not coming in and finding some reason to fight once they're at school.
Right.
They are bringing the neighborhood fights or the neighborhood disturbances or disagreements, and then they are coming together at school. So it's not the school environment that is causing the fighting at all. It's not bumping into somebody in the hallway, something that could be really the responsibility of the school administration. It's not like that. These are gangsters that are coming in from Cedar Grove and different areas of town, meeting other gangs, and they're bumping into each other at the school. And it's just a very minority of the kids in the school. But those 2 points need to be brought out again. It's very few of the ones doing it, but when they come in, then they're bringing the neighborhood disagreements into the school. That's what we've got to prevent. We need the parents to help prevent that.
Thank you, Sheriff. I certainly appreciate your support in this effort too.